Don't you just love the smell of fresh bread being baked? You know, the type, the smell permeates the whole house. And you can't eat just one piece because it's that good. You only quit eating once you're full and satisfied. Here in our culture, we see bread as an option, but in other countries, and especially in the Bible times, it was an essential staple for life. Jesus used this opportunity to show how he is like the bread they eat. He's essential to life. Today we're looking at the first of Jesus' 7 I am statements here in the Gospel of John. These aren't just casual claims, they're divine revelations. When Jesus says, I am, he echoes when God gave his name as the I am there with Moses at the burning bush. So let's read John chapter 6, 35 to 40. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger. He who believes in me will never thirst. But I said to you that you have seen me and yet do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me. The one who comes to me I certainly will not cast out. For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of him who sent me, that of all that he has given me I lose nothing, but raise it up on the last day. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who beholds the Son and believes in him will have eternal life. And I myself will raise him up on the last day. So here in verses 35 to 40, Jesus uses this opportunity to show how he's essential to life. So let me set the stage for you, of what happened right before, because context matters. After Jesus fed the 5,000 with only 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, there at the beginning of chapter 6, the crowds were going to make him their king, verse 15. Jesus withdrew to a mountain, and the disciples headed toward Capernaum. Jesus went to the boat later that night, walking on the water, verse 19. Once in Capernaum, the crowd that was there at the feeding of the 5,000 followed. They were seeking Jesus for more physical food. Jesus tells them that they should be seeking the spiritual food that comes down from God, and which gives eternal life. The crowd also wanted to know what type of work they should do to receive this eternal life. Jesus answered and said to them, this is the work of God, that you believe in him who he has sent. There at verse 29. So the only work they had to do was to believe. The crowds begin to boast how their fathers ate the manna that Moses provided. Jesus corrects them by reminding them that it wasn't Moses, it was his father was the one that gave the manna. The true bread is the bread that comes down from heaven. Jesus now makes his first I am statement there at verse 35. And here it is, the first of 7 powerful declarations. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger. He who believes in me will never thirst. And there in the Greek, it's written in a double negative. It's what's called an ume. So when he says, will never thirst or will not hunger, he's saying, no, not never, ever. So no, not ever, ever will you hunger. No, not ever, ever will you thirst. So do you notice the emphasis? He's just not promising satisfaction. He's promising permanent, lasting satisfaction. Physical bread, you're only satisfied for the momentarily. A few hours, you're hungry again. While the bread that Jesus supplies lasts forever. If you put your trust, hope, future, or security in anything other than Christ, you will feel empty and unsatisfied. There at verse 37, all that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will certainly not cast out. Again, that's a Greek emphatic, certainly not, double negative. So no, not ever, ever cast you out. Never, ever throw out He'll never ever throw you out if your only work is in believing in his finished work on the cross. So he'll never ever throw you out. It's Christ doing the saving, and it's him keeping you saved. So it's not you working for it or working to keep it. It's Christ doing it all. There, verse 39, I lose nothing. Jesus doesn't destroy or cause destruction of a person. Jesus is the bread that sustains, gives you eternal life, and you will not be forgotten about or, say, lost in the shuffle. Jesus calls himself the bread of life who came down from heaven to do the Father's will. Jesus said there, verse 40, for this is the will of my Father, that everyone who beholds the Son and believes in him will have eternal life, and I myself will raise him up on the last day. So we see Jesus pursuing God's will. Now, here's where things get heated. The religious rulers understood exactly what Jesus just said. The Jews grumbled about this because Jesus was claiming to have come down from heaven. Also, Jesus was clearly claiming to have a unique relationship with God, claiming to have attributes of God, raising people up. So this is linking back to Exodus, where God says to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, I am has sent me to you. When Jesus said this I am statement, the Jews understood what he was saying. He understood that Jesus was claiming to have a unique relationship with God, that he possessed attributes that only God has. They understood that he was calling himself God. So this is a clear verse showing that Jesus is God. So let's bring this all together. At the feeding of 5,000, Jesus uses the opportunity to show how he has the power to create bread that, sustains the physical body. But more importantly, he's the lasting bread that comes down from heaven, which gives eternal life. This bread is essential to life. So when he's saying bread, it's like we would say food. So this bread is essential to life. Where the only access to God is through believing in Jesus. And by doing this, you'll receive eternal life. Christ is the spiritual food that nourishes the soul, just like regular food is for the physical body. Jesus is the only bread that can satisfy your soul. Whenever you try to satisfy your soul with anything except Christ, it will leave you empty and unsatisfied. Here's what I want you to take away today. Jesus isn't offering to supplement your life. He's offering to be your life. He's not optional. He's essential. Just like bread was essential for survival there in the ancient world, Jesus is essential for eternal life. So ask yourself this week, what am I trying to fill my spiritual hunger with? What temporary bread am I turning to when I feel empty? Because, here's a promise. When you come to Jesus, you will never, ever, ever hunger again. So are you still hungry? Jesus says, I am, and that changes everything. With fear and uncertainty that's about us, hopefully you can find Jesus to fully sustain and satisfy your soul. I'll add an email in the description below where you can receive a free PDF study guide for all the I am statements. Just on the subject line, include I am study guide plus your name, and I'll get that over to you. Thanks for watching.